Katherine Pierce is an overhyped predator. I was 14 when I first watched The Vampire Diaries, and I remember being so captivated by Katherine Pierce because she was the personification of everything a vampire has been described to be. Irresistible, charming, predatory. She's all of these things. But what struck me the most when I finished the series and then started to engage in the fandom was just how much she's loved. Completely loved and defended. People disregard the horrible things she does because 500 years ago she had a horrible human life. And I'm not saying the amount of time that passes minimizes what happens. All I'm saying is that a lot of the characters have started off the series in that evil role. And as they spend more time with humans and become more exposed to their own humanity, they become more humane. And that's kind of one of the biggest points of the Vampire Diaries. They don't have to uphold the same morals as humans because now they're a different species, but it's still in the back of their brain, the laws of humanity that they were taught when they were alive. Some vampires choose to discard their human life, and that's what allows them to detach from valuing human life the same as their own. Whereas other vampires put a big emphasis on the value of human life, such as Stefan Salvatore, who has done a lot of harm to humans, to put it very lightly, but he consistently proves that any harm he inflicts on a human being, he feels extremely guilty about. Emily Bennett said it best herself.
Feels more like a gift.
That will change.
Why is that?
Because even in death, your heart is pure, Stefan. I sense that about you. That will be your curse.
He even struggles so much with the things that he's done that he tries to off himself in the first season. It's one of the first impressions we get of him. And while for human beings, even if a serial killer regrets what they've done, that does not make them a good person by any means. However, Stefan isn't a human, and therefore this immense amount of guilt that Stefan feels does push him in the direction of good, because the more in touch you are with your humanity as a vampire, the more humane you are. And Stefan is very humane, as long as he's in control of his body. However, Stefan doesn't claim that he's a good person necessarily. He just does what he can to be the best version of his vampire self, which is to make himself a non-threatening entity to humans. For anyone who doesn't understand how vampires' brains behave in this universe, all emotions are heightened. Similar to how vampires' eyesight and hearing are heightened, so are their emotions. But this also gives them the ability to become completely apathetic for survival. If emotions become too heightened, vampires can turn off their emotions to stop them from feeling things like crushing guilt and grief, and it makes humans worthless in their eyes. So while Stefan is still a vampire, which makes him a predator by nature, by doing what he can to keep in touch with his human side, he's able to be as good a person that a vampire can be. It's the separation of species that humans have to animals. You may need to eat them to survive, but that doesn't mean you want to torture or manipulate them or abuse them. That is the type of morality that exists for vampires in this universe. Now let's apply that morality to Katherine.
I don't want you seeing Elena anymore. If you don't remove her from your life, I will kill everyone that she loves while she watches, and then I will kill her while you watch.
Katherine Pierce is a very complex character, which is one of the things that makes her one of the show's best villains. And I think that a key point to remember is that she is written as a villain in the show, and they give her a very good backstory that explains how she has ended up this way, similarly to how they did with Klaus and Elijah. However, the thing that separates Katherine from people like Stefan, morality-wise, is, like I mentioned before, Stefan hurts people when he has no control, whereas Katherine hurts people to gain something, which is a consequence of her life running from Klaus. Naturally, when you spend 500 years running for your life, you're going to betray people.
I didn't spin anything, Stefan. It's the truth.
No. Let me guess. You want to trade that stone for your freedom? You manipulative, psychotic bitch.
But there is really no reason to manipulate someone into having a sexual relationship with you that they otherwise most likely would not have consented to. This brings me not so subtly to Katherine and Stefan's brief relationship. Katherine enters Stefan's life by posing as an orphaned young woman who lost her family in a fire. This leads Stefan and Damon's father, Giuseppe Salvatore, to invite her to stay with them for the time being. Katherine wastes no time engaging in casual relationships with Stefan and Damon, pitting them against each other for fun, because they're humans and they're pawns. However, Katherine begins to genuinely fall in love with Stefan, and when she decides it's time to show him who she really is, he's only 17 and understandably terrified. It's the 1800s. Witchcraft, evil spirits and demons are all believed to be imminent threats in that society, and Stefan has just realised that there is one living in his home. Rather than compelling Stefan to forget what she has told him, she compels him instead not to be afraid of her.
Your face. It was like a demon.
But you're not afraid.
Get away from me. Get away.
It doesn't change the way you feel about me. You will not tell anyone. We will go on exactly as we have.
Yes. we will go on.
This removes Stefan's ability to consent with a clear mind, similarly to how Damon manipulated Caroline in season 1.
Good morning. Get away from me!
Get away from me. Get away.
It doesn't change the way you feel about me. You will not tell anyone.
You seriously hurt me, and I will be damned if you think... Oh my god, where have you been?
Katherine has done the same thing to Stefan. And when you remove consent in a relationship and you start to sleep together, you no longer have a romantic relationship, you have a predator and victim relationship. Stefan then spends the next almost 200 years of his life with the unwaverable perspective on the situation. That perspective being that she manipulated and abused him, and that the relationship couldn't have been real because she compelled him to think a specific way about her, something Stefan wouldn't do. However, this is a vampire universe, so let's apply their specific morality to the situation. Specifically in the Vampire Diaries universe, Katherine is confirmed to have never turned off her humanity. This takes away the explanation and excuse of not being in control of your own body. She kills, betrays, manipulates, all for survival. That is the part of Catherine Pierce's character as a vampire that is justified morally in the Vampire Diaries universe. Nobody thinks she's a good person, but as a viewer, if you want to understand that part of her character and explain it through her past, I accept that. And a big part of being a vampire is, like I said earlier, valuing human life to a lesser degree than you value your own.
Let me. Here we go. Paralyzed from the waist down. And dead.
So from that perspective, using humans as pawns in your life can be explained. However, Katherine and Stefan specifically had a sexual component to their relationship, of which she gained nothing other than pleasure. It did not contribute to her survival.
Would you please tell Mr. Salvatore that I've stepped away?
Which one?
Both.
And when it was time to leave, she did. But not before she kissed Stefan's dead body and promised she'd be back for him. After all she did to him, she intended to come back because she didn't see anything wrong with her actions. Now, I understand that vampires are predators, and that's what Katherine represents. But she comes back years later to taunt him, to deny that she ever abused or manipulated him, and to hurt him by hurting the most important people in his life. Her reasoning is that she missed him. This is still a predator stalking prey, and there's no way you can tell me that she would not have inserted herself back into his life through means of compulsion and manipulation if she could, because this is a pattern. She has done this before. So Katherine is an abusive predator. However, that's what the show tells us vampires are. Over time, the more exposed you become to your humanity, the most you value human life. But Katherine never turns off her humanity. Katherine never detaches herself completely. After all these years, she's never remorseful for what she did to Stefan. So to conclude on this point, she shows no remorse ever and never admits that what she did to Stefan was wrong. Moving on to another one of Katherine's biggest victims, Elena Gilbert. A lot of the Vampire Diaries fandom hate Elena but love Katherine, but it is really impossible to say that Elena did Katherine wrong in any way to provoke her to torture her in the way that she did. Elena didn't choose to be a doppelganger. She didn't know what she was getting herself into with Stefan. Katherine, believing that Stefan was her one true love, tortures Elena. Katherine mentioned several times throughout the series that the reason she hates Elena is because
You have everything. And it's not because you're a good little girl who deserves happiness. It's because you stole mine.
that's why she hates her doppelganger, because she sees a life she could have had for herself in a face and body that is identical to hers, which is a very compelling part of her character, I will admit. But it doesn't change the fact that, once again, she preys on an innocent person for no reason, and then goes on to victimize herself without admitting any wrongdoing. And I like this part of the doppelganger curse, of doppelgangers wanting to torture their shadow selves. I think it's an interesting part of the show. That doesn't make what Silas does to Stefan in the locker okay, and it doesn't make what Katherine does to Elena okay either. Let's not forget that Katherine literally kills Jeremy as well, and shows no remorse or regret. And correct me if I'm wrong, but at this point in the show, Jeremy's only 18. So while Katherine is definitely one of the strongest aspects of the show, she's still a predator. To dismiss her predatory behaviour as her being badass is simply not true. The morality that we hold as humans condemns her, and the morality that the vampires hold as vampires also condemns her. Because unlike other characters in the show that show genuine growth and accountability, Katherine never does. She remains consistently interesting, and it's the fact that she's such a menacing predator, unpredictable and selfish, that keeps us on our toes whenever she's on screen. So while I think she's a great character, it cannot dismiss the fact that she's one of the most evil vampires in the show. Thank you so much for watching. I'm going to have to keep this outro very brief because I've got work in the morning and this video is overdue. But I just wanted to say thank you so much for all the support. thank you for watching the video, and if you have any opinions, please comment and let me know. I don't know if this video will reach many people because my videos kind of are inconsistent in their reach and in their views, so I suppose I'll just find out. I'd like to make another Vampire Diaries video, and I'd love to make a Walking Dead video, but anyways, keeping it short, thank you so much for watching. Bye!